Yeah, self-directed IRA is just it's a vehicle where you take a prior company's retirement account, you roll it into self-directed under a self-directed company. Entrust is one of them. That's who I use. There's a number of other ones. And what those companies will allow you to do is like control your retirement money pretty much at your own, like within some restrictions, but in any way you want. And one of the vehicles is real estate. So you can partner with a self-directed holder like Entrust, and then you can partner with a bank that will do non-recourse loans, which means because your retirement account is a separate entity from you, the bank can't come after you if there's a default. So they have to have a different type of loan. Um, and so there's a few different banks that'll do that loan, and then you'll be able to buy real estate, and it'll be managed by your retirement account.
Who's this? Oh, you're an entrepreneur? Oh, you're a real estate investor. Oh, you're trying to learn from those who did it. Well, come into the lab then. Put your white coat on, gloves on, notepad, and let's build, y'all. Experiment Nation, this message is for you if you are a short-term rental host. Pay attention closely, because if you recall, we had an individual by the name of Mark Simpson step into our lab and tell us the importance of building a short-term rental business where your clients and future guests are booking with you directly, not solely depending on OTAs such as Airbnb, VRBO, Expedia.com, the list goes on and on. And his reasoning behind it is that you want to leverage these OTAs and not be solely dependent on them so that you can actually build your business that you are in control of. Extremely important for you to do this, for you to be in control of your business and grow and scale it properly. Now, I did read the book from beginning to end, and the announcement is that he has launched a book called The Book Direct Playbook, which launches this February 2022. You want to make sure you get your hands on this book, because I certainly did from beginning to end, and I got more than just about OTA. He gave the foundation of true marketing, which is a specialty that he does because he is the founder of Boostly, who has helped numerous hosts over and over build very credible websites that allow the guests to book with you directly. Now, I want to highlight something. It's very important that you understand that Mark is not saying to not use OTAs. He's saying to leverage them to then be in control to build your own business. And he actually gives a very key gold template on how to actually create an incentive for your hosts or your guests, I should say, to stay with you as a host by booking with you directly. There is a strategic way to do this, and he does cover this in his book. You want to make sure that you get his book at the link below. You see right here, boostly.co.uk/book. In this book, it will give you the foundations, marketing foundations, a key guide to guide, and at the same time, every chapter has the instructions sections that gives you guidelines on what the next call to action, what the next step is. You need to refer to it the exact same way you would refer to any book you have in the lab as a practitioner who's going to take action to take control of your short-term rental business. Again, that is boostly.co.uk/book. That's boostly.co.uk/book. Make sure you get your hands on this book. You will not be disappointed. Real Estate Experiment, what is happening, y'all? Today, I have the pleasure of having Johnny Wolff step into the lab with us. I'm really excited to have this gentleman step into the lab and share with us some insights. I always like when there's a little bit of tech background, a little real estate, a little, you come into the lab, it's just a good melting pot. So I'm super excited to have Johnny here with us in the lab. So Johnny, without further ado, man, what's going on? Welcome to the lab, man. How are you doing today?
Hey, so happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me. And, mixing the tech and the real estate is really what we focus on and specialize in at HomeRoom.
That's my middle name, brother, which will so I got to ask you, man. So Johnny, you're the founder of a very interesting, platform, but at the same time, you're doing some turnkey stuff. So I'm going to get a chance to find out how these two came together. But before I even go there, I always like to find out, I believe that our business is a reflection of who we are. I'm a business owner myself, and I was, scratching my own itch. I had an issue that I was dealing with. I'm kind of curious, taking a step back with you, with the company that you've built, which is, again, the Live HomeRoom.
it's what problem were you facing where you're like, I'm going to get into this, or maybe what problem did you hear, so we can get a little bit of context as to what you were able to build. So we're going to wrap it and put a bow on it, but I just want to hear from you. Like, what is the problem that you were facing and dealing with at the time that you felt there is an opportunity here to serve the people in the marketplace? Talk to us, brother.
Sure, man. So I mean, I think like a lot of business owners, I started the company out of my own needs. I spent, after college, I started investing in real estate out of state right away, and found it to be pretty challenging, a little bit scary. And so, but I was really into it. Did a lot of analysis late at night after I would work as I was a analyst, financial analyst by day, but at night I would be doing real estate analysis, and kind of realized that I wanted to be way more in I was doing software companies, but I really wanted to get into real estate more heavily. Moved to Austin in 2015, and bought a portfolio of roommate houses there. And so I had found roommates in San Francisco relatively easily, but at the scale I was doing with roommate houses in Austin, it was tiring. It was basically Craigslist, Facebook groups, a little bit Facebook Marketplace at that time was pretty early for roommates. So it was just really challenging to, find roommates. So kind of, but the one thing that went really well is that as I did get those houses filled up with roommates, my return over like the 5-year or the 3-year period that I had that portfolio was like 500% annually. So I thought, hey, this seems to be working really well. The amount of rent I'm getting on these properties is way higher than I would have been able to do as a single family investor. And so that's sort of kind of the meeting of, my real estate investing experience out of state. And I really wanted to make that better. And then finding roommates. I lived with roommates. I lived in those houses and wanted to be able to match them better. And it's much more affordable to live as a roommate. So you've got tenants on one side looking for more affordability. And you've got owners looking for kind of a better kind of investment experience. So those are the two problems that we're looking to solve.
Okay. So let me understand clearly, Johnny. So what you're telling me is that you were, you were investing out of state in Austin, Texas. Am I correct?
From 2007 to 2015, I was investing in Texas, living in San Francisco.
Okay, cool.
And then in 2015, I moved to Austin to invest more aggressively. And so I lived in Austin from 2015 to 2018, managing roommate properties.
Okay. So when you were in San Francisco, what was the first investment that you had made? Because I know, again, it's San Francisco. That's why I say that specifically. Where did you go? Just for our listeners who might be in the same situation and thinking, I'm in the West Coast. What are my options? Just curious. Get some context.
I mean, I don't, at that time, that was early in my investment career. I hadn't done a lot of analysis on markets and demographics, but I had a family friend who had a real estate company in Midland, Texas, which is, where Friday Night Lights is filmed.
Yeah.
Oil Town. And so I bought with him just because I knew him. And it was like that first property is such a learning experience. It seems scary, you do it. It's not that big of a deal typically. Things go wrong, things go well. So it was a really cool learning experience. I bought a number of other properties. I bought one with a self-managed IRA as well. But yeah, I mean, finding that good partner that you can trust is a really nice way to start.
What kind of property did you buy for our listeners, for starters, and what kind of price point were you looking at? Because I think this will help give for some of us who are drinking the Kool-Aid, who are not aware, because I invest out of state as well. I'm currently in New York right now, but it is not where I invest.
Sure.
Right. Rightfully so. What kind of numbers were you looking at, and what kind of property? Single family, duplex? What kind of property was it?
Single family. And this was 2008. I bought it for $95,000.
Oh my God! You said $95,000. What was the condition of that in Midland, Texas?
New build.
That home.
Brand new.
How many bedrooms?
It was a 3-2.
Okay, cool. So you buy a 3-2 for $95K, which, just to put things into perspective, y'all, we're in the New Yorks and San Francisco. This is why people invest out of state, because their dollar goes further. And I'm assuming you had a decent salary when you're, in San Francisco. But so let me ask you, so you have that decent salary, you're investing out of state. What are you doing in San Francisco? Are you renting? Are you co-living? Or you haven't gotten into that part yet? You are co-living? What are we doing?
Yeah, I was co-living. So I lived with roommates the entire time I was investing in properties. I was actually just looking up this property, see how much it's worth now.
Oh my gosh, please tell us. So, and by the way, the co-living
200, it's not, now it's selling for 201,000. Or it's
201, like, and
Yeah.
And this was in
So-
2000 and
Yeah, I bought it in 2008.
that's not bad.
Yeah, it's
That's
not
not
bad.
that's not bad. I gotta
Yeah,
say,
you're not-
Atlanta, the
yeah.
numbers are even crazier than that. If that's what this is.
Cool.
I'm seeing some like I'm telling you, man, property values going up by like 50K by the year, man. It's going crazy. But
Jeez.
but just as to put things in perspective, with everyone coming from the West Coast and North, you're supposed to have 6 months of inventory. We have 1.1. So it's just no inventory.
Pretty
So
crazy.
property values go up. So, but okay, so this is interesting, and the reason I'm asking these questions, like, where is Ruben going with this? Like, I'm trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together because there's always traces in experiments that we can learn from here. So I'm trying to understand the context. And so as you make that progression,
I think that's super
Yeah.
true. That's one of the ways I look at everything is like when you see someone that's like doing pretty good,
Yeah.
there's usually like this pretty messy trail behind them of where they were learning and kind of figuring it out. And like
That's
most
what
of the
we're
time,
here,
some of the time it's hard to find that stuff though. So I like these questions.
absolutely. So fast forward. So that property, what do you put into that? First of all, you're investing out of state. Do you have any connections there in Midland? You said you had family.
A family friend who had
Family
a property
friend.
management company there. Yep.
So property management company. So I'm gathering some ingredients because I'm going to put this whole thing together here. You have a turnkey operation today, but and is that what you leveraged as well? You leveraged a property management company to okay.
Yeah. Yep.
And they were doing long-term tenants. Like, what was rent for that? Do you
They were
remember?
doing long-term single family standard tenants.
Do you remember what rent was?
I think it was 1,100.
Dude, so you got the 1% rule. Damn, that's crazy,
I
man.
know, man. Yeah.
Where are these deals at? So
They're back in time.
they're back, right? I know, back in time. Shoot. Okay, so that's solid right there. When did it talk about that next leap? How long did you have that property for? Was that next leap? Because you talked about getting into Austin, and I want to get into that. So when was the next thing? Did you refi? What was the next step?
Sure. Yeah, no, I held that and kind of watched and started to do a lot more research, right? Engage in the bigger pockets community.
There you go.
Talk to people. Then in 2011, I bought a property with my retirement account, same area of Midland. But this one I think was a better deal. I purchased it for 99,000 and the rent was 1,700. So I learned a bit. How do I be a little bit more patient? How do I find a deal with a better cash flow? All that.
One more time. What was the numbers again?
99,000 to purchase it with my retirement account, self-managed IRA. And then the rent was 1,700.
Ooh, I like those margins. I like it. They're getting larger. So I like this. Okay, so you said it twice and you emphasized on it. So I'm not gonna let this one slip through the cracks. Self-directed individual retirement account.
Mhm.
Talk to us about the benefits of that for our listeners who might be like, whoa, who is this Johnny guy? Like, you dropping all these bombs. Like, how do you do this? And why is it beneficial, that the self-directed IRA?
Yeah, self-directed IRA it's a vehicle where you take a prior company's retirement account, you roll it into self-directed company. Interest is one of them. That's who I use. There's a number of other ones. And what those companies will allow you to do is like control your retirement money pretty much at your own, like within some restrictions, but in any way you want. And one of the vehicles is real estate. So you can partner with a self-directed holder like Entrust, and then you can partner with a bank that will do non-recourse loans, which means because your retirement account is a separate entity from you, the bank can't come after you if there's a default. So they have to have a different type of loan. And so there's a few different banks that'll do that loan, and then you'll be able to buy real estate and it'll be managed by your retirement account. So the benefits are, you get all the real estate returns that you would typically get with your own property. You can unlock some money that's stuck in retirement.
So what does that look like for again, I haven't done this, so I think it's fascinating. What does it look like when you're actually like signing your contract? Is it like is it you who's signing it? Is the deed in your name, but the mortgage is in the IRA? Like, can you I know those are granular questions, but like
Sure.
technicality. I like giving
tactical
questions.
It's been a really long time since I signed the documents, but the retirement account owns the property, not you. Right. So that's
crazy.
Yeah. So you sign as part of the process, but your retirement account holds it.
Gotcha. And is that for someone who's listening? If I have a 401k, do I need to take it to the next level and transfer that? Is that eligible? Like what is the self-directed IRA for those who might not be familiar?
So typically, and this starts to get a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but I'm going to give you the best I can remember. And then I'd recommend like fact checking me on Google. But when you leave a company, you have a chance to leave the money at that company's retirement, or you can roll it into a different one. Or you could roll it into the company you've just joined, or the other option is you can roll it into a self-managed IRA. So I left Electronic Arts. I was a financial analyst there. And when that happened, I rolled the money that I had accumulated there, plus the company before, into the self-directed IRA and bought the property.
Awesome, man. I love this. I appreciate that, because tactical advice in the lab is required. So now you guys know the game. You can Google the rest. Johnny left the game for us. So I want to reconnect the dots for a second, right? We're back in, we did our second investment, $99,000, $1,700 in rental. I guess that's the rent. So obviously it's more than the 1% rule now. So we're evolving now. You're getting a little bit more cash flow. What's the next thing? Because I want to fast forward to where when you got to Austin, you said something key where you were able to get way greater returns by having multiple people under one roof. And it sounds like you kind of came up with this structure of maybe renting by the room. Did I get that correctly?
Yeah, that's correct. And that's the sort of the framework. And so when I was in San Francisco, no one lives in their own place out of college because no one can afford it. Right. So I lived with roommates from 2007 all the way to 2015. The whole time I was there, this was making pretty good money, but apartments starting at $3,000, it just seemed like too much of my paycheck.
So is that for like a 1-bedroom, right?
Yeah, it's like a 1-bedroom. Yep, correct.
Oh my god.
And so I moved to Austin, and I'd watched this real estate perform, and I at one point decided I'm going to move all my money out of Amazon, Google stock into real estate. So I did that as part of the purchase of that second property. I supplemented my retirement account, and then I was in 2014. I was just like, this, I can't, how much do I have to make to be able to live in San Francisco the way I want, in a house that I own, where my wealth is being like kind of moving faster than the rate of expenses, kind of where I live. And so I started to analyze different markets in the United States for growth, for appreciation potential, because the numbers I was running at night showed that the biggest return on your investment is going to be high appreciation markets. That's how you'll gain way more wealth. Even a good cash flow property, or 3 of them versus a great appreciation property, the appreciation property is going to crush them, especially if you're leveraged. So
I like that. Okay, so This is a gem right here. So what you're saying is you're looking at the math and you're like, okay, Midland, Texas, great, cash flowing by bit. But you're saying, I want to make sure I understand that, like maybe where you're at back home, like a San Francisco, that type of appreciation, if you're able to get in, you're saying brings greater returns. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, greater return on your money invested for sure.
Interesting. So when you look at
the cash flow numbers, we're looking at hundreds of dollars. But when you're looking at appreciation numbers, you're looking at thousands of dollars. Yeah. And so it becomes bigger faster. So I decided, it was kind of counter to everything that was on bigger pockets, and it was counter to everything in most real estate sources. And I said, it's the opposite of what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the most expensive market with the highest growth potential. And so that was Austin for me. So I moved there and, quickly kind of picked up about $1 million in real estate, and rented out all the rooms out separately.
When you say that, just for context, that, people look at value for that, $1 million, San Francisco might not get you like anything but $1 million. You know what I mean? So when you say that, for context again, what did that look like? That transition. By the way, good for you for zigging when everybody was, or zagging when everybody was zigging, or zigging when everybody was zagging. I don't know which one it is, but you basically went the opposite way, and I love that, because I really do respect that, because I think sometimes, you have podcasts like these to get insights, but then when you do have the information, you take it with a grain of salt, and then you can also make some of your decisions. But it has to be an educated decision. So. So with that said, actually, on that note, and I'm going to get to the zigzag in a second, right? The analysis that you keep talking about, you're a very analytical guy. I can just tell by the way you look into the camera, like you're very analytical, and obviously from your background, what are you using I know you mentioned bigger pockets, but like, what kind of access are you, where are you analyzing this data from? Zillow, realtor.com?
Yeah, I mean, I do it in Excel, man.
Yeah.
That's sort of, uh, I love the tool for its flexibility. So at one point, what I did was actually I took the roof stock calculator that they have online. I don't know if you've seen what they have, but I
Roof
reverse
stock.
engine. Yeah, roof stock. You can buy turnkey properties on their platform. Very cool. But their analytics tool I think is my favorite in analyzing total ROI in properties. So I spent like a week basically just reverse engineering it in Excel with all the variables they use, and then kind of started to look at different markets with that lens.
Interesting. Why buy and sell through roof stock? Look at that. Johnny's giving us the plug today. All right. So I appreciate that because that's another tool to our listeners, to your tool belt. So let's go back to that million. What was that million? Like, how many units are we talking about? What's the kind of property type that you look for? So when you're thinking of, I would almost call it room hacking per se, what does that look like? What kind of properties were you getting into with the 1 million?
Yeah, I bought one duplex and two single families, and the average price is obviously about $333,000 at the time. And what I generally was looking for was the edge of like, there's kind of like a heat map of kind of like city density, and you can kind of see it over time, and you can see it kind of the city kind of growing outwards, like a spill that's kind of just creeping, right? And so I was just looking at that map, and I would buy the second ring out essentially, where the density
Where the
was
growth was, yeah, where you could still get in, but the growth was on its way, right?
Yeah, inevitably on its way. And so
Where,
yeah, so that's what I did in kind of each. I bought like in the north, I bought in the east, and I bought it in the south. And so all of them were in that kind of that same zone where prices were in that 3 to 350 range.
you sound like you're speaking to Atlanta. Do you know the Atlanta market?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, this is fun because you get on this. I'm like, okay, I'm learning. So this was in Austin, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been to Austin once. I know that place is booming, and you got the whole tech industry to come in. You got you got Amazon, you got a bunch of things. But just for fun sakes, because our market is Atlanta, we're in short-term rentals actually, which is our way we expedite kind of the cash flow to then invest in places that are high appreciating, like the Northeast, right? This is why I knew we would geek out on this, right?
It seems way harder. So I do not envy you guys at all, but that's awesome.
Yeah. Then speaking of, there's a lot of technology. That's why I want to get right into your homeroom in a second. But what I was saying is in Atlanta, it's very similar to what you just said, because it's, for those of you who are listening who are in Atlanta, you guys know there's the I-285, which is the ring or the heart of Atlanta, and the growth is happening outwards. And it's funny because people will say, are you inside the perimeter or you're outside the perimeter? Inside the perimeter is where all the action is, 20 minutes from downtown, 10 minutes, right? Very proximity. Outside is where the growth is going, because I told you there's no inventory, so it's growing. So we literally just bought, like, for this past year, right outside the perimeter, like not like borderline, like I'm talking about like we're on the perimeter. The property, bought property at 275, it's worth 350 in a year because there's no inventory, right? So this is the kind of, bro, that's what I'm saying, right? So when I'm looking at these numbers, I'm like, oh, this is the same thing. The 300s, now you can't get anything in for 300s, going to the 350s and 400s, and you hold on to that, you're gonna be laughing like John. Johnny got a smile on his face, man. I'd be smiling too. All right, cool. So it's interesting, Johnny. So okay, cool. So you got these properties, you got the duplex, you got the two single families, you're onto something here, right? So then at that point, are you using that same property management, or you're like, nah, I'm gonna do it my way? I just want to understand this transition as we're gonna get into homeroom in a second. I'm excited. So talk to me.
That's where I started self-managing everything. Because for one, roommate houses, you can't really, most property managers won't do them. Another is that
why is that? Just risk? Like, what is the problem?
I mean, it's a different products, right? So you have to, there's roommate dynamics, that we have a special lease at homeroom for roommates, right? Because you have to have unique agreements where, what happens, what about the common area? What about parking? What about all this stuff? Wow. So, the property manager is just a little bit mind blowing, but I also wanted to learn that business because it felt that I was leaving too much on the table in terms of learning about how properties operate, how you dealt with repairs, how you just understood real estate. So it was really a learning thing, but also a cash flow maximization thing.
So you went into this as almost like a sophisticated property management company where you're going to, like, I mean, don't let me put words in your mouth. Are you drafting the agreement? Like, I want to understand the transition that you made. Did you first go traditional, or right away you said, you know what, man, I'm gonna get a bunch of people, random people together, I'm gonna shove them in? How did you do it? Craigslist? Like, where did you start?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously it was not sophisticated at the time,
Yeah.
right? I had a few rentals under my belt. I moved to Austin, and I was like pretty good at math, so I just did a lot of math, and then I bought these properties, and managing them, the roommate rentals, and that's really where I started. And I didn't do a custom lease. I just did a normal lease at the time. I was way in over my head operationally, and I had a full-time job, so it was a good lesson. I mean, it was a good experience to learn the I don't know, learning property management and learning like the actual operations of a property. I think is why homerooms where it is today, right?
Okay.
Understanding all the pieces, all the puzzle pieces.
I'm gonna get to it in 1 second. I just gotta ask you one more question, Johnny.
Sure.
How did you first fill those rooms up? What was that step? How did you fill those rooms? Where did you go? Bigger pockets? Like, I don't know. Where did you go?
Craigslist, man, mostly Craigslist.
Interesting. Interesting.
Mhm.
And was the experience at first? I know you said you were way above your head because there's a lot of moving pieces to that, like moving days,
Mhm.
checking in, like, who's paying the utilities at that point? Like, is that you?
At that time, I just had the roommates put in their name, but that ended up being a problem later when someone would move out and you couldn't track them down for the utilities they owed. So that was a lesson. Another piece was I didn't initially furnish the common areas because I thought the roommates will do it, but they didn't want to because it wasn't really their space. It was shared. A lot of lessons though. I learned a lot during that period of running those houses, like what could be better. And
All right, all right.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, let's get it. This because this is a transition, and I was just trying to foreshadow. Everyone's like, "Come on, man, let's get into homeroom." All right, tell me about this platform. Just to level set, you're the CEO and founder of HomeRoom
Mhm.
Co-Living, and I wanted to preface. I know it took us a while to get here, but I think it's important to understand the beginning because we, as entrepreneurs, we solve problems, right? And so what you did is you solved the problem that you were dealing with, and then you really turned it into a company and a business. So
Mm.
tell us about, I mean, your growth has been amazing. Like from what I'm looking at here, what are you in 23 different cities in 3 states still, or is this still growing? Because
We've expanded to 35 and 6.
see, I gotta ask because this just static. What I'm looking at, it's not dynamic. It's
Sure.
growth. You're always growing. So
Yeah.
that's fascinating. Tell me about that. Let's fast forward into that. Like, at what point did you say, like, all right, I'm gonna create homeroom, and what does that even look like? Were you still working when you were building this thing? Did you hire developers? Like, did you get like what? How did you structure this? Like, we're getting a whole full entrepreneurship like shower here. Like, what did you do to get this thing off the ground?
Yeah. So in 2018, I wanted to balance my Austin properties, which were working in what I wanted, which was like building wealth with like some more cash flow passive income properties. Because what I realized is that property taxes in Austin were rising with the inflation. I was like, okay, I'm gonna need to balance this out with a different type of real estate. And so I moved to Kansas City really to do specifically that, to buy properties in Kansas City and to do roommate housing there. So when I moved, the first thing I did is look for roommates because I only lived with roommates really my whole life, except for like 1 year in Austin. I lived downtown in a swanky apartment just to see if I liked it, and I didn't. I really like to live with other people, and so I bought a roommate house. We did all the things, but finding roommates was really hard in Kansas City, and I was just honestly fed up with finding roommates on Craigslist and Facebook.
Was it harder in Kansas City than it
Much
was
harder,
in
much
Austin?
harder. By far easiest San Francisco, little bit not that hard in Austin, really pretty hard in Kansas City.
Is that a culture thing, you think? Like, what is that?
It's a net migration thing. I think the more movement there is within a city, the easier kind of finding roommates is. And so a city like Kansas City, which is right in the middle, not a lot of migration in, not a lot of migration out. It creates
Mm.
less kind of traffic.
So what
So
did you do next? Yeah, tell us.
yeah, so I was just tired of struggling with that and started to think because of the returns I'm seeing in my Austin properties, like why don't we just, and the fact that finding roommates is just a pain in the ass for everyone, and roommate matching apps don't really solve the problem. They don't provide a house, they just provide a person. I thought, well, what if we just take what I just did in Austin, up leveled everything, and turned it into a company that like took over the world. And that's actually, that's not what I thought at all. It was the take over the world part is totally made up, but like it was really just about trying to offer roommate housing and connect people. And
But why not? Again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I'm just like, because I want to see how you think. Why not just go back to Austin where it was where you had a POC, right, proof of concept, right? I'm just curious. Like, I want to see how you're thinking. You were committed to being in Kansas City. Where you're like, all right, cool. I gotta make this work. Let me build an app. Like, I'm just thinking that's awesome.
yeah, I mean, I was already in Kansas City. I already relocated. I had a house I was living in with the roommates. And I knew that when I analyzed the different markets, if you want an appreciation market in 2015, I think Austin was the place. If you want a cash flow market in 2018, I thought Kansas City was the place. So I basically was looking at, I kind of think about real estate as like stocks. You've got your hyper growth tech stocks, you've got your blue chips, dividend stocks. I think KC is probably more the latter and Austin's the former. So that's why I was in KC, was to kind of create that portfolio balance. And since I was already there, that's where I was going to start the company.
A question a little off topic. We're right now, you do a lot of analysis while you're here. I might as well ask you, what do you think is booming right now as far as what you just said? It's 2022 as we're recording this Q1. What are you looking at? I'm sure you still look at a lot of data. What are we looking at here that are the areas where the heat map is just like just really expanding?
Yeah, Texas and Florida still, man. Texas and Florida really popping. Obviously Atlanta, we really like Atlanta. There's a few, like Boise is really nice.
Idaho.
The prices have kind of accelerated though. They're a little bit too much, but these are kind of the places that were like the migration and the roommate demand there is pretty much off the charts. Dallas was really our top of all. That's the second market we went to, in terms of just the price. And unfortunately, since we got there in 2020, the prices have gone up like 40%. So now it's a tougher market for investors. But I think Dallas, in terms of just balanced economy, net migration scores inwards into the city, and a few other things we really like, which is demographic of people moving to the city. It's just it's off the charts. It's really strong. So
I love that. Where else do you get your data, man? I'm curious. Like, come on, it's not just roof stock, or you got to be onto some other stuff, man. This is proprietary stuff. You got a grin on your face, man. What are you using, man?
No,
You're like a out there.
Yeah, we use a lot of census data. We tap into a lot of kind of ArcGIS type data. I don't know if you're familiar with that tool, but it taps into multiple data sources, and kind of you can do map overlays of different areas, and we'll do kind of heat mapping. So
which one was that you said?
ArcGIS.
ArcGIS? No, is that a commercial tool for commercial real estate?
It's a tool that any real estate kind of investor can use. It's pretty powerful. And it's kind of demographic migration across across the United States.
Johnny's not holding back, y'all. Hope you guys got your notepads out. I got mine. All right, so let's get back into HomeRoom real quick.
Sure.
When I was looking at the website, I got the sense that it's like B2B and B2C. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, it depends if you think of a real estate investor as a business. We think they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll tell you where I'm going with that. Just so we're on the same page, Johnny. Is I see that you're serving. You're serving a need for one who is not an investor, if I'm correct, one who is actually trying to find a place to stay, so like a renter.
Yep.
But then it seems like on the back end, there's also turnkey investing. Like, is that all integrated or is that separate? Because I'm just trying to make sure I understand
Yeah,
that.
those are the two sides of our marketplace. So we help investors kind of buy properties that go onto our platform, and then we find the roommate tenants that go into those houses.
Oh, so that's how you're creating a turnkey solution, because you're providing the inventory and then you're providing a solution to fill the properties in.
Yeah, and with
Ooh.
roommate housing, some of the time you can get up to 100% more rent than you would have with a standard single family option.
Can you highlight that? Because I think that's important. That's where I wanted to go actually. Like,
Okay.
give me some numbers. So we started talking about like 1,000, 1,700, or at least, around those numbers. Give us some context and give us maybe like a unit mix, right? How many bedrooms? Let's pull a case study out. What is the typical kind of room that or turnkey investment that I would purchase from you? Is it a 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom? What are we looking at?
Yeah, so today, one of our oldest properties purchased by an investor for us, it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath when they brought it to us. And then we converted it to a 6-bedroom, 2-bath because we have some different management practices where as long as there's enough parking and bathrooms, we'll add bedrooms and that'll be paid for by the investor. But we run a full ROI calculation based on those investments to convert the space. And so that property was renting for $1,600 a month before the investor purchased it. And then renting by the room, we were able to get it up to $2,900.
Okay, so if I'm an investor, can you walk me through the steps of what you offer me? Am I investing and then we're rehabbing together, or am I buying something that's already ready to go?
Yeah, exactly. So we'll find a home on the MLS. So we don't actually do the full off-market deal sourcing and flipping. We'll find a home on the MLS using our data. Our data team will isolate different properties that match our criteria. We'll underwrite the deal, and then we'll help you make an offer on the property to purchase it. Once the property closes, we will convert the space. That means we'll add bedrooms and we'll furnish the common areas and install smart technology. And so you don't really have to do much. You'll have to write a check at closing to buy the property, and then you'll have to write a check to us to do the work on the property to convert it to a co-living home. And then it will start performing within 90 days. Yep.
Did you say you admire what we do in short-term rentals? Are you kidding me? Because what we do is we help you buy, right? Because I'm licensed as well. We have a team. And then we'll help you furnish, and then we'll help you launch, integrate all the technology. But you got the whole construction piece in there. So you're actually just one step, above us, right? Like I don't know. You're right there, brother. Like if we could talk about the short-term rental space too. This is incredible. So you have your own contractors that you work with, and
we have a vendor network that we partner with that's vetted by us, and so we partner with different vendors, including contractors in the cities around.
Awesome. So you basically going into that purchase, you already kind of map out the scope of work so that I know as an investor that I'm paying for this much, but then I can also expect 30K. Well, actually, let me ask you, do you doing cosmetic rehabs, typically moving drywalls, or what is it? Where can it range? Does it depend on the investor?
Yeah, I think 20 to 40 is probably right. But usually 25, 30 as the average. Yeah, so that's what, but we underwrite that as part of the deal, right? So even before you made an offer on a property with HomeRoom, it'll say, hey, we expect the REIT to set this property up and do like some minor repairs that we'll find the inspection is going to cost you 25 grand. And so you're pretty much, then we just work to that and we send you an invoice and it gets done. Occasionally there will be change orders here and there, but because it's MLS properties with a full inspection report, we're usually pretty right on the money with that. So.
Wow, that's awesome. So I see that. So, and then again, I love it. Vertical integration. Then you have the HomeRoom app. Why don't you talk a little bit about, from a user experience, why it's better than maybe going to Craigslist?
Sure. With the HomeRoom app, you can jump onto our website. You can actually take a 3D virtual tour of any of our bedrooms and houses. You can also see some information about the roommates. You'll read a brief description. And we're still kind of fine tuning this final part, but the goal is that people will be able to sign a lease within 5 minutes of kind of deciding they want to move into a property. So working on that pretty aggressively right now. There's also roommate matching machine learning that we have integrated into the product that will help connect roommates with different degrees of compatibility. So that's a cool feature, since roommates you don't like aren't the best, obviously. And once you live with HomeRoom, you can actually transfer from any property to another property with the push of a button in our app. And,
What?
there's
Hold on.
message. Yeah.
Hold on. Is that because technically it's
A membership agreement? Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
dude, you're in a short-term rental space, bro.
Except
you own it.
His minimum is 3 months for us.
3 months. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you're in a long-term, short-term rental space. So no, I think it's fascinating because you're controlling your platform. It's like, so I really want to give you kudos, right? Because
Thanks,
you
man.
are absolutely like you've created your own platform. Because one of the things we talk about, whether it's the Airbnb or the other OTAs, you're not in control of that. They control that. I love the fact that you're in control. Now, what we're doing is we're leveraging them, and obviously we're trying to, create a relationship and et cetera. But I love what you have going. So let me ask you, do you find yourself that the most people who have the HomeRoom app in their phone or desktop, perhaps, do you find that they're actually coming in from do you find that they're internally coming in, or they're coming from the externally, where, hey, you should get on this app because I was able to find a home? Do you find, like, I don't know if you're able to have this kind of data. I'm sure you love the data, but or is it more of organic is what the word I was looking for, where it's kind of like, oh, this person came. Actually, no, you know what? I realize the question I'm asking doesn't make any sense, because the only, if I'm thinking this correctly, it would all be external, because it's not like you have a base of I guess tenants that are actively engaging. Or I'm curious here. I'm speaking out loud, and I'm trying to figure out your the way your community grows. You tell me. I have you here. I don't know why I'm doing the guesswork. How is your community growing? Is it growing from referrals, or is it more growing from like retention rate as well, and people stay and they change from property to property? Like, I'm very curious.
Yeah. I mean, it's growing because we have more properties, right? And the demand for roommate housing is really large. And the difference between the house behind me, which is one of our HomeRoom properties, and a house that you would find on Craigslist is drastically different. We deliver a better experience for the tenant.
Sure.
It's, you don't have to worry about splitting bills because it's one price for us. So, I mean, the product is the software, but it's also the property and the way that we do it. And so those two things create, a really nice fusion for the tenant. So people using our app are actually, you come into the HomeRoom platform and lease, but the app itself is actually for members that are within the community already. So they can message other members. They can kind of talk with us. They can log service requests, all this stuff. So most of it's for people that are internally living at HomeRoom today.
All right, let me ask you a question. This is where I was going. You allow me to put my thoughts together here. I'm looking at I'm right here in New York. I'm looking at this could be like, I don't know, 80 unit, 100 unit, probably 100 unit building. They come to you and they say, listen, man, we're listening to the Real Estate Experiment podcast, and man, we gotta get this. They will. Oh, they will be. And they say they want your application as part of their process. What do you say? Are we at that stage yet, or is it still homegrown? Are you able to get this HomeRoom into somebody else's ecosystem? That's the B2B component I'm curious about.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we could do that today. I think that the interesting piece of this is form factor dependent. So if, First Key residential were to come to us, or Blackstone, yeah. I always get those two confused.
Blackstone or BlackRock, or what?
Some black something. Black hard surface thing. if they came to us and said, hey, we want to turn as many properties as we can to co-living properties, and they gave us all the data they had, we could tell them which homes would work, and we could do it, right? We could do it tomorrow. It would be more
Interesting.
challenging for us to do in apartment complexes because that's not necessarily our specialty today.
Is that where you think you may go as a company? Just very curious here, because I think you guys are making some huge strides, and I'm just curious as to where the limit is, or the utility of it. I'm sorry, I'm thinking is that something you're thinking of going to, or hey, we can actually apply homeroom to your apartment building, or is that not really the vision of where you want to take this? You want to keep it more kind of.
I mean, I think eventually it's inevitable that we'll expand form factors.
Yeah.
I think today, though, it's single family homes. It's a great product for us. Investors really like it. We understand real single family investment trends, so that you buy a property with us, it's going to do well. Yeah. So that's really our sweet spot. And inevitably, we're going to grow into different verticals. We're going to probably add single family homes at some point in the near future for investors. So you want us to manage your single family home, we'll do it. Vacation rentals has been something we've considered. So it's I'm not sure if I'm ready for the pain yet. I'm not sure if I'm ready for the pain yet of that.
I know.
So, but I just think that controlling inventory, it creates leverage points in cities, and it also, especially the way we envision it, you can live in a short-term rental with homeroom. You can hit a button. You can change to a roommate house, another city with homeroom. You can move into a single-family rental with homeroom. Then maybe we'll help you buy a property that homeroom knows is coming off the platform. So it's just kind of this whole journey for a tenant that, as you have more form factors, you can create a seamless branded journey, right? Where we're kind of on the side of the tenant, but also on the side of the investor. And that they kind of help them work together more collaboratively.
I see what you're doing, brother. Homeroom, holding company, turnkey, homeroom financing. I see where you're going, man. Hey, listen, you heard it here first. I think I see where you're driving this. And you know what? When I asked the question, I realized that you said it. You said that's your sweet spot. It's your USP, right? Your unique selling point as to why someone should either invest with you or even rent with you. So I think that is unique. It's your secret sauce. That's super, man. Let me ask a little bit more about you, Johnny. Like, you're such an interesting guy, man, and you have such an interesting product, and I'm sure you're surrounded with some great people. So honestly, I tip my hat towards you, man. Who are you? Maybe someone that inspires you, that you're like, man, like, this is somebody I'm like, respect. Anything out there? Any books or any mentors that you're like, that's the guy, that's the gal? Yeah.
I really like The 50th Law by Robert Greene. I think I really like his stuff a lot. I don't know why. But I find him fascinating in the way that he thinks about people and power dynamics. But The 50th Law specifically, he wrote in collaboration with 50 Cent. It's just kind of about being like fearless, and it's kind of it's about jumping into way beyond what you're kind of able to do, because we're survival animals and we'll fight our way out of it. And that's really the fastest way to grow. It's also the most painful way to grow. I don't think he highlights that in the book enough. But it's sort of what kind of launched me on this whole kind of journey.
I gotta read that, man, because I think
it's an incredible book. The other book that I really like is Mindset by Carol Dweck. I think that's it's as good as it gets in terms of thinking about personal growth and failure. I see your thing behind you. It says experiment, fail, learn, repeat. It's probably a Carol Dweck. It's a little bit Carol Dwecky inspired. Have you read that book, Mindset?
A lot. Bro, I'm writing it down right now. I'm getting it. It's funny because I read a lot of personal development. You got my branding stuff there, but I had a whole library on that. And I was going to mention, thank you for that reference, because I listened to Robert Greene podcast where he was on, I think he was with, what's the Indian guy's name? Indian British guy, On Purpose, Jay Shetty, I think. And it was really, really fascinating. I was like, ooh, I gotta get on this book. So thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, Robert Greene is phenomenal. I've read a few of his books. I think Yeah, I really like him. I think, inspirational authors is like, it's sort of like your favorite ice cream in a sense. Like each person thinks different. Robert Greene is super analytical and like also
Yeah.
like he's very like strategic in the way he thinks about things. So it's like, it's really good for me. But I think other
Yeah, it's
people
good for you
may,
because that's who you become. And I always say
yeah, it's good for me.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the same type of person you would say you're inspired to be like, or is that just a just knowledge perspective? What about like, is there somebody out there that you're like, yeah, that you get
Guys,
inspired by?
those guys are awesome. No, I don't. I mean,
No?
I love Elon. He's probably my favorite.
Yeah.
In terms of just like his boldness. I mean, and these are kind of like very Honda Accord answers, very basic, like obvious answers.
Honda Accord
But,
answers. Like
but
that.
like, I do love Bezos and Elon. I think the way that they kind of both boldly pursued multiple lines of business, one after another, that kind of fortified what they were doing across different, it's like going straight down is good, but kind of building sideways as well, I think is good. And it's hard, but
Like lateral. Yeah.
it has enabled us to offer a really unique experience for investors and tenants. And if we
Yeah.
said, a lot of people have gone really narrow on what we're doing, and
Mhm.
I think I never thought that was enough for delivering this. So
Mm. What do you think is the best habit that serves you on a day-to-day basis, Johnny?
I think going to the gym every
Yeah.
day. Yeah.
You're a morning guy?
Started like 4 months ago,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Good for you.
yeah. Yeah.
Clears the mind. Clears the
Clears the
mind.
mind, man. Makes you feel a little bit better about yourself. So
Yeah.
it's nice.
Cool. Cool. What's the biggest misconception, man, that you think you've overcome, or what do you think is the biggest misconception that you feel was maybe in your way or is out there for people that we need to kind of hurdle over?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of ties back to the book that I mentioned. I do think that very frequently we think we're like behind a wall of like 5-inch glass and it's impossible to get through, and it's really just like cellophane. And
Just
pretty tired of it. But I do think getting yourself to take aggressive action, and that's like not like getting up early tomorrow, but like moving to a new city, um, quitting your job and starting something new with kind of no backup plan. Those kind of things will kind of change who you are and who you'll become. And they're not really that hard, right? To move to a new city is not very difficult. Most people could do it in about a month, pretty
yeah,
seamlessly.
yeah.
Um, and quitting a job, same thing. And so, you obviously need to pre-plan stuff. If you just throw yourself into chaos, maybe you'll end up like homeless in Austin. That's not what I'd recommend. But you can. I
Just
think,
Austin, by the way.
yeah, just Austin, just Austin. Yeah, just Austin. I think it's really about figuring out a way to like manage your own fear, tricking yourself into jumping past it, and almost like I don't know if that even makes sense, but a lot of time it's just complete an illusion. If you can figure out any way to trick yourself to just take the jump off the cliff into the water, then when you get into the water, you learn how to swim, right? And so I
Yeah.
think that's the biggest challenge is people kind of are holding back on the shore or on the rock, not jumping.
You know what I find? I love that topic. You know what I find helps me, and I've talked about this a lot because that's kind of what I do. Um, I commit verbally. Like, okay, so first, I think you need to be aligned with your core values. So when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. So when I say it out loud, like if I tell you, hey, yeah, man, let me like I'll make this connection for you, or like, you know what? Yes, I'll get this to you in 48 hours. I'm like, oh, fuck, why did I say that? Or I'll just message someone when I'm not ready, and I'm like, hey, I want to do this with you. I'm like, and I have no business being in that room. I am not ready to even take on this kind of business. That I think is maybe a tactical advice that I can share has helped me. But you have to be true to yourself. Like if you're a person who doesn't care about their brand, doesn't care about their word, doesn't care about like what, what you say and what you do.
Mm.
I don't think that will work, but because I know myself, I always have to do what I say I'm going to do.
Mm.
I always find myself like, oh shoot, I just committed to this. I have to do it. I said I would do it. I put it out there into the universe. I told the person I would do it. I told the person I could handle it. Now it's our problem.
Sure.
Now it's my problem. Now you got to figure it out. So
Yeah.
that is a key. That's the way I find it. And I hope that maybe gives the listeners some.
Yeah, I mean, have you seen there's like a short by Pixar where the old guy's playing chess against himself? Do you ever see that?
No, but that's interesting. Go ahead.
It's pretty funny where he's actually like playing chess and switching sides and kind of personas. I'll send it to you afterwards, but I do kind of think that like managing your own personal dreams or like what you want to accomplish in your life, a lot of it's playing chess against yourself, where you have like your own fears, your own kind of like limiting beliefs. All these things are kind of like, and you almost have to like just outfox them. Like, how do I just get myself to do it anyway, and then trust myself to figure out from there? Because that's like really the path is like do it anyway, trust yourself to get it done, right? And I mean, to your point, if you're someone that just commits a lot and doesn't do anything, I'd say move, do something, do some action that maybe you don't involve anyone if you don't trust yourself yet. But yeah, it's a cool kind of solution you have there.
Love that. Listen, man, Johnny, you came in the building, you came into the lab, and you really over delivered, which I appreciate. And
Thanks,
this whole lab now is really want to support homeroom co-living. I think what you're doing is amazing, and I think we co-lived into the lab today, and I appreciate that. I got some insights from you, and that's the beauty of kind of what you're doing is not only being able to give a solution to renters who it sounds like renters could possibly turn into investors if I'm kind of reading between the lines here. And then you're also servicing investors to have a full streamlined operation where you have a solution that's going to also bring them a higher return on their investment with the room hacking kind of phenomenon that you've created, which is beautiful to see. And honestly, like you're so early into this and you're already blowing it out. Like you said, but 36, I think you said 36 cities in 6 states, or 35 and 6 or 5, whatever that number is. I know that as soon as we finish this show, there's going to be, because I could see the fire in your eyes, which I always appreciate. When we have into the lab, I can kind of really see who the go-getters are. And it's refreshing to see, man. And it's refreshing to see that you're on your mission. You got a vision. You dealt with your own experiments and you turned a solution out of it, man. So want to salute right back to you and Thanks, give, of course. And then I want to give an opportunity for the listeners to also check out, what you've built and what you and your team have built. And so I want to give an opportunity to do that at livehomeroom.com. Is that correct? Livehomeroom.com, where they can check out more of what you're doing. And then how can the people also, how I say, man, like I invest in the people first. And then, and I was just reading, do you know the book Good to Great?
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic book. It just really dawned on me because, I have a team, I'm building. It says, bring the people, hire the good people, right? Build the team and then steer the ship along with the team rather than having a vision and then hiring the team. And I thought that was really fascinating because, I'm assuming, and I didn't get into this, but I'm assuming you really have a good support cast with what you're doing. So I want to give people a chance to support the entire team at livehomeroom.com. And then to put this full circle, I would say that, the person behind the business is a reflection of the business, or the business is a reflection of who the person is behind the business. So with that said, I want to give people an opportunity to maybe just follow you personally. Where can we stay in touch with you, or maybe even reach out to you if there's an opportunity? Where's the best way to do that?
Yeah, a few different ways. So livehomeroom.com, like you mentioned, is kind of the main site. Dash Invest is where you can see, some sample pro formas, what we do as a video about how the nuts and bolts of it work.
Dash Invest. Okay. Yep. Livehomeroom.com/invest, right?
Correct. Cool. And then you can actually schedule a call with one of our real estate guys in like a couple clicks, and they'll talk to you about how it all works. And so that's the primary one. You can reach me personally at johnny@livehomeroom.com. I do my best to respond to all my emails every day. Don't always get there, but I get close sometimes. And then, yeah, those are my primary spots. We're on, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, all those places. And I have a website, johnnywolff.com, that we're kind of launching today. So go check that out if you want. We'll have blogs going up there pretty soon. So
that's a badass name, by the way, man. Johnny Wolff. Jesus.
Thanks, man.
I'm gonna be looking you up, man. I don't know. There's a lot of good stuff coming out of this guy. So listen, guys, you heard it here first. Make sure you check my man out. We had such a good pleasure, and his team. I will be looking out for those. And again, I appreciate you over delivering and experimentation. As we always say, we'll keep everything in the show notes. If you're driving, keep your hands on the wheel. And just like that, thank you, Johnny. We are out.
Thank you.